We are live.
Live.
Get old Uncle Susan out of your way.
Yeah. We go. Alright, later.
Thanks, sir.
Yep. Hello, friends. This is Dave from Truth Fires Records, and I am here with Ryan Criner, and we have royalty in the house tonight.
The king is here.
Cam, king of Merther. He's a good friend of ours, and we're happy to have him in here today. He's going to talk to us about Merther. They just released a new album. Long time coming. Had an awesome release party the other night for it. A lot of fun, good turnout.
Yes.
And also, Cam might be kind enough to play us a few songs. Well,
Yeah,
hopefully. It's
from
up
the
to him.
solo album. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. And you've been working on that for a while now, right? On the
Well,
side?
I mean, as far as like when it comes to writing the material and getting it familiar in my brain, so I'm trying to get these songs to where they're second nature, because a lot of them have a lot of lyrics. So they're really the only way to get it. So it's almost like muscle memory. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta learn. You gotta know the lyrics enough to.
Yeah, we're doing it right now.
No, it's like you gotta know the.
Sorry, that was our friend Aiden.
He's making chicken.
He's alright.
making chicken.
He's making chicken. He's growing chicken. No, but the lyric, a lot of
Training
times.
your brain to really get it.
Yeah, so it's not so much that I'm remembering the lyrics; it's that it's just sort of part of my muscle memory, and that's how a lot of lyrics are. Like when I'm playing with August West and Friends, I sing "China Cat Sunflower," and if you're familiar with that song, you know that the lyrics are just complete, almost
odd.
gibberish.
Yeah.
Very, very bizarre lyrics. It almost seems like a word fragment set, mushed into different verses. But with that song, it's not really that I really think about the lyrics. I just sort of open my mouth and they just sort of come out, which is just the product of practicing the shit out of it and playing it all the time.
I always wondered how musicians can remember as many lyrics as they do, like especially when they pull a song out of the song book that they haven't played in years, and how they can do that.
Right.
And I guess that's probably exactly how they do it, is just time and time again.
Yeah. Except for if you're Jerry Garcia or Bob Weir.
Right.
They always forget. We still love them, though.
That still cracks me up,
Yeah.
though,
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. But, so yes, recently, Merther just released a debut album, long time coming.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, throughout the past 4 or 5 years, we've been sort of drifting in and out of studios, and we'll have like a couple month-long studio session with an engineer, and like there was about I think there was 2 or 3 times where we had these couple month-long sessions in the studio where we would record the basic tracking and then do all the mixing and mastering, and we just didn't like it, so we would scrap it. So there's a lot of material, probably you have more of it than anybody, of just us going to the studio and then just deciding that we don't want to put it out there. But this most recent time, we worked with an engineer named Derek Hibbs, who I actually met him in college years ago, but we reconnected, and he's a graduate of New England School of Communications.
I was going to ask if he did that, if he went and studied that. Cool.
Yeah, but the thing that's cool is that he had already graduated when we started the album, so he was sort of working on working with like alumni privileges. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he knew a lot of the professors, and he was able to score some studio time, and. Yeah, like I said, it's been a long time coming. Like a lot of these songs that are on this album are songs that we've been playing for years.
Yeah.
But there's also a few of them that I just wrote last winter. So like,
which ones were the ones that you wrote last winter?
Man of the Tide and Through Windows, Man of the Tide, and Operation Flabbergast are all essentially infant songs.
Okay.
And even now, when we play it live, I feel more comfortable than I did in the studio. Performing this song.
Yeah.
But Operation Flabbergast is like it's a more composed song, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had Les Rhoda and John Patterson come in, the Black Fly Horns, as they are called.
Yeah.
They came in and laid down a saxophone track and a trumpet track, and it just made the song, just made the song.
And those guys played at the CD release party, too.
Yep.
Are we going to see them here and there coming in? And
Absolutely.
Cool.
Not every time, but it looks like we're going to be playing at Harry's Hill this summer, doing late night sets, and it looks like they will be on board for those sets too.
Right on.
So get a little bit of late night weirdness going on.
And
and they're like innovative as hell, man. They it's not just them showing up with a trumpet and a saxophone. They got so much, they have so much electronics involved. They're playing through so many different pedals, and they end up coming with these really
And a
come
really
up with
unique,
really
creative
interesting
twist to
sounds.
it.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
cool.
That's great.
And then you also recently got a keyboard player that I think is going to be rotating
Yep.
in here and
Yeah,
there.
he's gonna be playing as often as possible with us.
Yep.
And
Devin,
Devin Ryan.
who also
who,
plays with ukulele
yep.
and the Pharmaceuticals.
That's right. Yep. He's a incredibly talented multi-instrumentalist. I've been saying this joke recently that he's our keyboardist and he's a better guitar player than me. It's true, man.
He's a good guitar player for sure.
He's a phenomenal. He's a phenomenal
Talented
multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah.
You know, like he doesn't seem
Awesome.
to have any boundaries for what he. You know, it seems like he's just the kind of guy who, if he puts his mind to something, he'll make it happen.
Yeah.
But you know, he's got a daughter, and sometimes he can't make it to shows because he's got family things, and that's, you know, we're always encouraging that, you know.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy, and he's a very cool.
Once you got kids, you always got kids.
That's right. That's what my grandfather always says. But no, yeah, he's a very good addition to Merther. And I was talking to Keith about it. Keith Briggs, our other guitar player. It's when we introduce a keyboardist or an organist to the jams, in a way, it kind of opens up different parts of our minds when we're playing.
Totally.
So, you know, like you're kind of limited when it's just two guitars, which we love.
Yeah.
We've been doing that for a long time. But once you add that other foundational addition to the soundscape,
Yeah.
it definitely opens up all of our minds, or a certain part of all of our minds that we wouldn't have necessarily been able to access.
And James Meringue, the current bassist, also, he used to play keys and
Yep.
synthesizer.
Yep.
So you guys kind of got a taste of that element, and obviously it seems like you guys like having that extra element to
Oh
your
yeah,
music.
for sure. And yeah, absolutely. Like we got a little taste with Jimmy, and you know, going forward with Devin is just sort of getting to the next level. You know what I mean? We're really excited about it. Like we've been talking about it for, you know, weeks and weeks since Devin essentially sort of committed to playing shows with us, because he's not going to be playing much with Pharmaceuticals because James Taylor is. Yes, the James Taylor.
The James Taylor.
James Taylor is touring with Skyfoot, which is awesome too.
Those guys are awesome group of guys, very talented musicians,
Oh,
and they've
yeah.
been taking right off. It's good to see them, all
Absolutely.
the hard work paying off.
Yeah, and like I've seen Skyfoot play so many times, and they just in a lot of ways they're underrated.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it's like every show it's like a masterpiece. And
Yeah.
Tyler is probably one of the best guitarists I know, along with Joel Watson.
Yeah.
It's just mind shattering every time we see them.
Well,
play.
we're talking about a bunch of local music and friends of ours. The 220s are actually Joel Watson and James Taylor and Mark LeClaire. We're in a band called the 220s, and they were like a really cool prog rock band that played in Maine for the last few years. And they took a little hiatus, but they are doing a reunion show where they'll be doing originals, and then they cover the Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, and
which they're known to do.
Yeah,
they also did. Did they do Animals too? Did they do all
I
of
think
Animals?
they have done Animals.
They've
before.
done Wish You
Or
Were
maybe
Here
it was Wish
too.
You Were Here. Okay.
I'm not sure if it was
I think,
Animals
I
too.
think definitely Wish You Were Here and Dark Side of the Moon, but I
Yeah.
don't know about
Yeah.
Animals.
Yeah,
But they're awesome. Definitely
phenomenal.
catch them.
Yeah.
Do you guys want anything at the store? We're gonna go back out.
We're good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Smokes.
Smokes?
Yeah.
Any. Yeah.
Feel like any cash.
Yeah, kind of smokes.
I'll take some smokes too if you buy it.
Filters, please.
Doesn't matter.
Camel filters.
Camel filters?
Camel filters. Oh yeah. Sorry.
We'll check.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's like,
Bring it back to Jay.
excuse
Of
me.
course.
And I was just kidding. I actually can't afford cigarettes, so.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think the underlining point with a lot of this talk is that there's such an incredible music scene in this state and in this part of the country. You know, pretty much from Vermont, you know, New Hampshire, Mass area.
We're blessed here in New England. We really do have awesome, you know, a lot of, and you and I think have talked about this before too, is that it's like it once again underrated. There's so many, you know, not under-talented, but
Not
definitely
at all.
underrated and
maybe
underappreciated.
overlooked.
Yeah,
Maybe overlooked
yeah.
is a good term to use, but you know, you have bands like Hambone and Bandwich, who are, you know, Bandwich has really come onto the scene, like, you know, just shooting onto the scene,
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
all cylinders firing. And
Keith, who's like, I guess you could say the front man of that band and kind of his brainchild. He's a very quick learner when it comes to everything. Like I personally noticed, like any advice that I give him, that I've learned from the music industry, he picks right up on, and
Right.
he's
He
out,
listens.
and he's out there applying it. And,
very humble.
Yeah.
For someone of his skill level, he's incredibly humble.
Yeah, and I believe, what is he, 19 years old?
Yeah, either 19 or maybe he just recently turned 20.
Yeah.
I think.
Super talented musician.
Unbelievable.
Definitely check out Bandwidth. I was wearing my Bandwidth sweatshirt earlier. To all our listeners, definitely give those guys a listen.
Very intricate compositions, mixed with very lively freeform improv. And now they have Kale on the keyboards,
Yeah.
which is like, Kale and Keith are both very young, promising, incredibly talented musicians.
Two of the best, two of the best upcoming young musicians in our state.
What's the word? Prodigal? Is that
Prodigal.
Prodigal?
Prodigy.
musicians.
Yeah, no, they're incredible. I always love hearing them, and but yeah, the music scene is phenomenal. I'm so blessed to be a part of it. I'm so blessed to be able to call a lot of these incredibly talented musicians my friends. And
Absolutely.
another one I really want to mention is Fool's Gold. Fool's Gold has been my favorite local band for a long time, and they have the very ancient, wise energy that's attached to them.
Yeah, a very like ancient folk sound and
Yeah, and the
lots of
the chemistry between Duncan
Yeah.
and Simon. I mean, I use that as like a term that I compare other people with. Like, oh, you got a great chemistry with such and such. You're just like Duncan and Simon. You know what I mean? They just have like this ability.
setting the standard there.
Yeah, they have this
Yeah.
ability to just create a sound that sounds like one guitar somehow. You know,
Yeah.
they just connect, and I use
Those
that
guys
as
grew up together and been
Oh, yeah.
playing
They've been
together
pl-
for years.
They've got some hours around the campfire, man,
Right.
that's for sure.
Right.
And so I use that as a source of inspiration when I'm working with Keith too, because we never really had another guitar player in Merther.
Yeah.
We went through a few different people that we were maybe entertaining the idea of having
Yeah.
us having join us, but with Keith it's just like I feel like we both listen to each other enough, and we neither of us really try and hog any space. It's
Yeah.
sort of like
Can share the space and
we share nods with each
Yeah.
other and take solos, but there's also these moments where we just merge.
Yeah.
And I use Duncan and Simon as a reference in my brain to try and create the best soundscape.
right on. So I got a question here for you. What is your favorite track off this new album?
It's interesting that you asked that. I was just talking to Keith about that the other day. When we first did it, I thought Comb was the weakest song for a couple different reasons. But now when I listen to the album, I listen to specifically the last half of that song. And there's just some really cool live guitar work between me and Keith where
Yeah.
we just, you listen to after the last chorus into the end of the song, there's like a section of two guitars and we're harmonizing off of each other. And half of it is like predetermined composition, and half of it is just free form, kind of just feeding off each other. And I love that. I've been listening to it a lot lately, and I think that's
It's cool to see your perspective on the album, on songs change over time too. Like,
totally
having that opinion to begin with, and then it changing the more you hear it too.
right. Yeah, and I've done a lot of listening to this album. I mean, as far as when we used discmakers.com to actually get the CDs produced. And that just entailed a lot of proofing, listening to the album over and over again, changing anything that we don't like, and I've like hyper listened and hyper analyzed this album to a point where for a while I was just sort of upset that there were different things that no one else would have noticed, but I thought, I wish I did that a little different, but there comes a time where you just have to sort of let it be what it is.
Right.
And it's
like
cool
you
because
said, you guys have already been through the process of being in and out of studios for the past years, and then
Right.
just getting to the finishing stages and just like, well, we're not really happy with it. So
right. And this album is as close to exactly what we
What you
wanted
were
as
looking
we've
for,
ever
yeah.
gotten close to. And a lot of it is working with Derek. Derek is he's a creative perfectionist. He gets bug-eyed when it comes to making it sound exactly the way we want it. You know what I mean?
That's a good thing.
He invited us over to his house, and we stayed there for 4 or 5 days working on this album. He fed us, and he charged, when it was all said and done, he charged less than $1 an hour.
Yeah.
Less than a fucking $1 an hour for the quality of the product.
Can't beat that.
It's just like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
And there's other engineers that worked on it too. I should mention Zach Ladeau and Morgan Chase and Josh Small helped us out a lot. And they're all credited in the booklet, but the main engineer that we worked with as far as getting all the mixing and the mastering done was Derek, and he was just great guy to work with, great guy to hang out with, very very above intelligence, you know what I mean? He's a very smart and creative dude. So
right on.
And we're gonna be working with him for our second album.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna go. The plan right now is we're gonna go into the studio again with him in perhaps even the late summer, but definitely the fall. And we have the entire second studio debut all mapped out. And we're just gonna go in and bust it out and try and get it done for next year. You know what I mean?
Sweet.
Yep.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So, for anybody who hasn't heard the album yet, or even if you have, I'm sure you won't mind listening to another song again.
No.
Yeah. I hate it.
I'm sick of it already.
We're going to segue into the song The Light, which is one of my favorite songs. And then once we're done listening, we'll ask Cam a couple of questions about it.
Sure.
10,000 ships in my harbor, all trying to dock at once. My sail seems much too heavy for these waves. Scattered vessels roam my waters, void of anything resembling direction. Someday I will create a light that might shine all of these frantic ships on home. Someday you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt where the light is coming from. Maybe that day is today, or maybe you just have to wait. Maybe you can find it some other way, yeah. Maybe that day is today. I am in the trees and the wind, somehow wrapped up in that beautiful all again. You, we're swimming through this sea of deep cognition and the ever-balanced, ever-thirsty plunge towards self-realization. The masculine and feminine energy is infinite, energy is infinite. The masculine and feminine energy is infinite, energy is infinite. Masculine and feminine energy is infinite, energy is infinite. Masculine and feminine energy goes on forever and ever. maybe that day is today. Don't you sit and wait to heal your pain. Maybe that day is today.
Dave just farted.
Smoke. Lots of it.
All right, so we are back, and we just heard The Light off the new album, Long Time Coming. And Criner, you said you hadn't heard the CD version, the studio version of that yet. What did you think
I
of
thought
it?
it was great, and I remember you were talking about the melding of the two guitarists and how you guys give each other the floor but share space.
Mhm.
And I think that really came out on this track, the way it was just kind of like there's a good balance back and forth.
Yeah.
It seemed like a really well balanced track
Cool,
guitar-wise.
yeah.
I really like that.
Thanks,
For
man.
me, that came out.
Yeah, thank you,
Wow.
man. Yeah, that's like it's a kind of like a formula, you know. We try and we don't want to overwhelm any space.
Right.
You know what I mean? We want to, and we don't want to step on each other's toes. But it seems like, I mean, Keith is such a good listener when he's playing that it's almost like impossible for us to step on each other's toes because we read each other so well, you know. And
Awesome.
it's really great. Yeah, thank you.
And I think, like, you know, that's one thing that's really prevalent in, like, the jam music community is, like, lots of communication. It's, you know, a lot of interaction and really getting to know each other in that way.
right.
And whereas, like, something that's just, like, refined and rehearsed so much, it's like you know what to expect automatically. There's
Right.
no guesswork. There's no chance really thrown into the situation. So it's kind of cool. You know, it's kind of like it's a whole extra skill and underrated talent that really goes into making that type of music, just like jazz and.
Totally. Well, there's a really good quote by Frank Zappa, and I can't remember it, and I'm gonna fucking butcher it, but it was basically along the lines of, like, you know, if you go and you regurgitate the same exact guitar solo every show, then you're sort of taking, like, a very living, breathing aspect out of the jam.
Yep.
So it's important to be able to train your brain to be able to just go, you know, go with the flow, go with the energy, and do different stuff each time. So it continues to be a living, breathing organism rather than a rehearsed.
Right
you know,
on.
A rehearsed.
It
song
grows and
or
it
jam.
evolves. And,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about jam music and jam bands is that there's this aspect of risk involved in each jam.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like you know, you could jam for 15 minutes and have the first, you know, 13 minutes be dog shit, but then the last, you know, 2 minutes be something magical that you wouldn't have been able to capture unless you went through that initial 13 minutes of shit.
Yeah.
And that's like and it's not always like that. I mean, you listen to Grateful Dead, a lot of times, a lot of their shows, specifically in the early 70s, you know, up until even 88, 89, they would just like tap into each other, and sometimes they'd do terrible shows, and sometimes they would just tap into this magic that just wasn't, you know, other bands weren't able to harness that kind of energy.
And I think the key word you really used there was like risk, and and the payoff is there, but the risk is also there.
Right.
So I was curious, like you know, this song, "The Light," has an awesome, you know, I really resonate with the lyrics of it. You know, where were you at mentally when you were, like, you know, creating that song? Like, what were you trying to, like, give to your listeners in the creation process of that?
Well, the lyrics in the beginning are 10,000 ships in my harbor, all trying to dock at once. My sail seems much too heavy for these winds. The scattered vessels roam my waters, void of anything resembling direction. So, in my psyche at the time, I was dealing with all these different things in my mind, all these different things that I needed to address, and it just seemed like a flood of them. The 10,000 ships are representing the 10,000 different issues or thoughts that I was dealing with at the time. And so that's kind of like a representation of just, you know, you imagine a harbor, and just ships are going everywhere, and they all are trying to dock at once. They're all trying to anchor themselves, and you know, the idea was that, like, you know, someday I will create a light, like a lighthouse, that will help bring these ships home and, you know, get them to where they need to go. And you know, someday you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt where the light is coming from, and that's sort of like a message to those thoughts and those issues that at the time seemed like they were ravaging my mind and my psyche. But it also, like, the thing that I learned, actually, ironically, the thing that I learned from the band Tool and Maynard's lyrics is that there's a very immense power in being vague in your lyrics.
Yeah.
Because Tool, you know, in my my perception,
there's power in that abstraction there.
Because, you know, you could listen to Lateralis or The Grudge and have it impact you in your own way, and I could listen to it and it accesses like a completely different thing. But the whole point is that it's encompassing whatever you want it to encompass in your mind and your reality and in your
and that's actually like an intention in their music too.
Absolutely, and that's it's a reoccurring theme with all their songs. And so I've been trying to do that too. I don't want to be too specific because in a way it kind of pigeonholes the meaning.
Yeah.
But to me the whole nature of meaning is that it, you know, you apply that meaning to whatever it is that's going on in your life, and then therefore it's more of a tool to help you get through whatever it is that you're trying to get through.
Right on. Cool.
But yeah, that's sort of where I was at the time. I don't remember what the issues were. I think it was girlfriends and, you know, student loan debts and all this shit. You know, like
girlfriends.
Multiple girlfriends. Pissed.
Sounds expensive.
At me and each other. No, yeah, it was
99 problems and most of them are female.
Yeah. And they're all 99 problems and they're all pissed at each other.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, no, but that's where I was at, and I mean, like I said, I wrote that probably back in 2014, 15 when I was living with you.
Yeah, poor guy.
And don't have any cigarettes left. That's That's okay though.
Yeah.
I love you.
Like a termite when it comes to cigarettes.
Dave, I don't even have any cigarettes left. Come on, just one more. I don't know how to explain this to you any other way.
Cam and I were cracking a joke the other day. It's like there was a point in time where I wasn't working, but Cam was, and I was just like bumming cigarettes and whiskey and probably whatever else I could off of them. Women.
Food.
Yeah. And there was a point in time where Cam was like, you know, Dave, I love you, but I really just can't afford to bum you any more cigarettes. It's like, well, fair enough.
I was being honest.
All right. He's like, that makes 2,000. We're going to cut it off at 2,000.
2,000, sorry. Sorry, that's the limit.
So you talked to us about plans for a future album. You talked about plans for, you know, you got some sets coming up at Harry's Hill and Stark's Maine. I know we'll see you at Freedom Field in Harmony, Maine. What other, you know, big plans do you guys have on the horizon here?
Well, it looks like either definitely in the fall, but maybe even late summer, we're going to go back into the studio with Derek and bust out that second album. And also, for me personally, I think around that same time, I'm probably going to be working on finishing up the acoustic album.
Cool. So you are started on the acoustic album. So
yeah, a little bit. Not as much as I'd like, but...
How many songs do you have written for it?
I mean, I don't know. As far as how many songs I've written, I think I probably in the 10 to 15 song range. I'm hoping to have it, you know, around 10 to 15 songs, because they're not super long songs like with Merther. We'll jam for 8-9 minutes, but when it's just me and my acoustic, you know, it's just but another thing too is that I really wanted to invite some of the local musicians that we all know onto this track too. Whether, you know, I was thinking about Hannah Summers Jones coming in and doing like a flute track or something. I haven't talked to her about it yet. She's probably just hearing about it now if she's watching this. But, you know, it was just an idea that I had.
No, I'm definitely not doing it. You should have talked to me first.
And I was talking to Duncan and Simon, seeing if they wanted to swing down and do a track with me too. And you know, like the idea of just being all in it together, you know what I mean, and trying to use whatever platform that I may be able to acquire.
It's a great way to cross promote too. You know, raise awareness of these other really talented artists.
Totally.
That we say are often overlooked in our musical community. Unfortunately, it's a great way to cross promote and cross pollinate.
Right.
Cool.
And then if you get down to the heart of the whole, the heart of the idea of doing that is just sort of just trying to spread that love and trying to get them more exposure and in the idea is like in the booklet you'll be able to see each song, the lyrics for each song, and then special guest Duncan Allen and Simon Quist or Hannah or whatever, like. And
sharing that love is a huge thing. Is like, I don't know whether I call our music scene struggling, but once again I think overlooked is really the term for it. It's not like there's a lack of talent.
No,
so really that
close.
As much support as we can tighten that community and really like build those connections with one another and all like continue to bring each other up to the next level,
right?
I think is essential, and
there's definitely
I like
not
the concept behind that.
there's definitely not a lack of talent. If anything, there's an abundance of it, and it's just sort of, I don't know if misplaced is the right word, but it's just not getting the recognition that I personally feel it deserves. You know what I mean? Fool's Gold just released their album, The Prize, which is an incredibly good, compilation of music. Duncan and Simon are both great songwriters, and if you don't have that, you should definitely go buy it because it's amazing.
And they're a great group of guys.
Yes,
so.
Absolutely. You'll be supporting a very humble and amazing group of talented musicians.
Simon's got another little baby on the way too.
That's right.
So
little baby, what is it? Hiker. Little baby hiker.
Yeah. So help feed the children.
Gotta feed the kids.
Yeah, that's the rule. You gotta feed the kids.
That's an old rule.
That is an old
like
rule.
one of the first
That's
rules.
why we're still on this planet. Is because you gotta feed the kids.
Yeah. You go to Dave's house and you look at his fridge. It's like a 10 Commandment stone of.
Yeah, the whole fridge is just covered in.
It's like a relic of wisdom.
Yeah.
Where we were.
And absurdity.
Yeah, and absurdity, which is good.
Those are the same thing.
Goes hand in hand. A lot of times. Yeah.
There's a nice balance to it. Yeah, gotta feed the kids.
Yep, that's one of the first ones.
And another one of the rules is pirates gotta eat.
Mm-hmm.
This is a question I had. These are all questions that I have that I'm giving to you. It's your problem now. But Merther has been building like a really a steady following and a very close knit community behind that a really strong fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean of course in any like band the music's part of it, but I feel like there's something more behind that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and I totally agree. I think that a lot of it is that we as a group, we're constantly trying to reduce this idea of separation between the crowd and us, the musicians. So, if you go to a Merther show, and I feel like this with a lot of different bands too, if you go there, the crowd is almost an equal part of the experience. Like if we're playing for bar stools, then it's just inevitably not going to be the same experience as if we were to be playing with a group of people who are letting themselves be vulnerable to the music and the lyrics and the energy, and it creates this circular motion. I've ranted about this a lot with friends, but like you create this circular motion where we all sort of feed on each other. It's like a collective
art project, rather than a giver and a receiver.
Right, yeah. We're trying to blur the lines between the performer and the audience. You know what I mean? We're trying to incorporate them into the experience as much as possible. And a lot of it, too, is like we play at these festivals, and a lot of bigger musicians will go to these festivals, and then they'll go order like a hotel room or something. But we get off the stage, and we're no longer this band Merther, we're just a part of everybody else. You know what I mean? And I think people catch on to that, and I think they realize that we're making an active attempt to blur the lines between each other. Like we're all sort of in this together undoubtedly anyway, so might as well not create this illusion of we're up here and you're down there. It's more of like we're all just one thing.
I remember an interview, Roger Waters, actually the reason he wrote The Wall was he had a fan that was heckling him, and he ended up spitting on them in the crowd, and then all of a sudden like he had this epiphany of that separation, and it's like we are all people. We are all one. You know, like me creating that divide, me drawing that line creates that line, and you know, it's a pretty cool concept. Well,
but he was he was like building the wall.
Yeah,
he was building
and
the
that's
wall.
ex-
Didn't they incorporate that into their live shows too? Wouldn't they like create literally a wall in between?
But they tear it down too.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what it was. Is it was he realized that he was building the wall, and it was something to be torn down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tear down the wall.
Yeah, tear down.
No
the wall.
shit, man. Yeah, I did not know that. That's really cool.
It is pretty cool.
He's gotten so much flack over the years for being like a very arrogant person.
I mean, and if you like, you know, I'm Pink Floyd's one of my favorite bands. Like, watch a lot of documentaries, always doing research about them and stuff. And you'd like, pretty much will hear from every other member of the band is just like Roger is really tough to
super
work
hard
with.
to work with. Yeah.
But
he's a creative genius.
You know, exactly, and it's you know, if he had people that were like yes men, who was like, play this part, play it this way, you know, then he probably would have been happier, maybe, you know.
Yep.
But he was working with a bunch of other creative individuals.
Absolutely,
who,
yeah.
I mean, and when you're a creative person, you don't want to be like shut down by a dictator.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. That's a good way to tear some things apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, you know, you listen to like Dark Side of the Moon, there's a lot of synth work.
Yeah.
But then you listen to The Wall, which is where he was sort of coming up as like this sort of dictator-esque kind of figure. And you don't hear hardly any synth solos, you hardly hear any like, you know, organ solos that branch off. It's just all sort of background, and Rick Wright being the guy he was, like it just must have been really difficult for him.
Right. And I remember there was an interview at some point where Rick Wright was actually talking about how he like kind of felt like he couldn't really do anything right on that album, and it was like, you know, Roger had this vision, but he was like,
that's crazy for him to think that after after it was so minimal, like there was just not even much organ or anything or synth on the album itself, and he still felt like it was wrong. Like, it was like barely even there almost. Yeah. But
yeah, I love those guys.
I love them too. They're great.
Yeah.
You know, I always have. I mean, I have constant respect.
And
for
that
those
was
guys.
another thing that I was just thinking about too. Is that like it's unfortunate when egos really get into the way of the of art and the music business. What you were talking about is like really you know, kind of blurring the lines there, and you know, nothing really like it really hurts as like a very dedicated fan to like be, you know, see a great performance from an artist, and then to like go up and thank them for the performance, and they don't even have the time or the care to like actually, you know, like, thank you, I'm glad you appreciated it, to even acknowledge that you're grateful for the gift that they just shared with you, you know. And it's like that us versus them mentality. And
it's definitely something that you got to keep a very short leash on, because once you start doing really good, people start telling you, and it's really the line is so thin and so fine that you can't, you know, it's really easy for your ego to sort of try and take over and see it as something better than other people. But like Merther is a band, and it's sort of like I don't know, we had this collective view of staying humble and producing music and trying to create a very vulnerable place for people to let go of whatever it is that's holding them down. And then when they're in that vulnerable place in the jam, we interject these ideas in their vulnerability that they a lot of times can soak in a lot easier than if they were just listening to it in a car or something like that.
Yeah, or if it was like an ad on TV or read in a book or a poem or anything.
There's a part of you that kind of just
opening up to that space.
Yeah, sure. And a live show is perfect for that. And I, you know, like that's a reoccurring theme with a lot of really great artists is you know, like Jimi Hendrix and the Dead, and like, you know, they would bring people to this very vulnerable and very absorbed state where they can really like feel these ideas that are coming from the music, and then they take it with them and they apply it to their life. You know, that's the whole.
I think music is such a beautiful medium with which to share ideas. You know, the concept Truth Virus Records, trying to spread the truth like a virus, and we think music is one of the most powerful tools that we could do that.
100%.
And I mean, Tool, you had mentioned earlier, you know, they're an extremely powerful band that, you know, has changed, has really affected a lot of the ways I think and feel about the world, the way I treat myself. And it's just always like a process of staying humble, learning more, and growth.
And like also just like sinking into what you are and in the moment. Like if you're upset about something, then like the worst thing you can do is kind of try and resist the fact that you're upset about it. You got to like sort of face how you're feeling in every moment. And music for me has been an unbelievable tool to help me sort of accept where I'm at, and in trying to tame my ego, because I have a problem with ego, because you know it's strong.
I'm stuck with it.
And it's something that like I've been trying to sort of work with, but also it's like, you know, it's something that you really have to keep a short leash on, as to preserve the magic that we're all trying to do.
Right
you know
on.
What I mean?
Right on.
And harness. So.
Yeah.
And I've had so many friends help me with this process, and it is a process. It's something that you know, you're working with your mind. You know, you're working with parts of you that, you know, you may not have a lot of experience in taming. You know what I mean? But being in a band and playing music and projecting ideas onto a group of people is a good way to help me sort of try and tame that.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing process. It's, as soon as you decide that you figured it out is when you stop learning and you stop growing, and the whole point of being
or when
alive
the
is
universe
growing.
is about to like knock you on your ass and like
totally.
shatter that whole thing you thought you had just built.
Right, absolutely.
But
which is oftentimes a really good time.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's a challenging time.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's a good thing.
It's a terrifying thing, but
Yeah.
it is a good thing
Absolutely.
for that growth and that evolution.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's hard to take a step back out of that experience when it's happening and see it as a good thing, but you know, 100%, you know, 99% of the time, it's something that really helps you grow, which is a lot of what Thank the Times is about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Thank the Times is just
That's
about...
That's a great segue, because that's actually the next song we're gonna play. Yeah.
Cool, yeah.
And finish what we were saying. Sorry.
Well, I mean, the whole premise of the song, the whole idea is that, you know, different things happen to you as you grow and as you live and experience life, and you know, you gotta sort of try to train your mind to see the negative things that happen to you as just as good as the good things, because it's teaching you. You know, like the lyrics to Uncle John's band, like when life looks like Easy Street, there's danger at your door.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to not experience, but you got to be able to accept those negative times, not let it break you first of all, but like, you know, reach out your hand.
And you can use it as a tool for strength and
yes,
and
absolutely.
growth, like we were just talking
and it's
about.
all about perception. It's all about how you respond to these different things. It's never what happens to you. That's never what matters. It's how you react to it. No matter what. It could be you just stub your toe in the morning. Yeah. And you could let it ruin the rest of your fucking weekend.
Yeah, right.
Or you could, you know, laugh at it, which I stub my toe and I try and laugh, because then I just like, I'm able to shrug it off.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you could experience something very traumatic, like, you know, losing a loved one or something, and there's obviously a grieving process, but it's up to us to respond to these experiences and have respect for them and have appreciation for them, because inevitably they're helping you grow as a human being, right, which is I don't know, I feel like that's the meaning of being alive. You gotta grow. Always.
I'm done growing. I was done.
You're all set,
I was done growing in 8th grade. They told me. I was like hormones, steroids. They're like nothing.
Sorry, bud. Yeah. You're stuck like this.
All right. So let's give Thank the Times a listen, and yeah.
Cool.
I once was alone, but that wasn't what had made me so lonely. It was that empty feeling deep inside left me starving of wanting. And I once felt like I was drowning in those tenacious waves of greed. Something must have whispered something deep inside my heart, saying kick your feet up to the surface so I can breathe. And so I did. And so I did. And so I did. And so I did. So I kicked off my shoes, I was done singing the blues. I threw my comb away, and my guilt and my sorrows too. I stepped out my door, and I looked up toward the sun, and I could feel the love, yes I could feel the love. I could feel the love. I could feel the love. Feel love. So when I think back to those days of cold, those days of grief and torment that I could not stand, I think about if that grief could stand right up here and walk around, I would extend my hand. Because how could we be who we are without the embrace of the perfect balance of light and dark? You are who you are. Thank the times, both good and bad, 'cause this trip isn't long at all, not long at all. At all. Not long at all. Not long at all. And I just let my ponder wander, and I thought I saw a bird nesting inside your ear, and I just had to go and wonder, is that bird whispering secrets? Should I get near to hear? So I tried to speak a whole lot less than I listened. Maybe someday you and I, we can go out and grab a drink. But the clock seems to tick so ruthlessly, the seasons seem to flash every time we blink. Because how could we be who we are without the embrace of the perfect balance of light and dark? We are who we are. Thank the times, both good and bad, 'cause this trip isn't long at all.
Cool, we are back. That was Thank the Times with Merther. And what did you think of that song?
I thought it was great, and once again, the flow is wonderful. You know, just something you can drive to, you can jam to a show, but it's just, I feel like to me it's like all-purpose music. You know, it's for all occasions.
Yeah, you know, it's there's a reoccurring theme in a lot of our songs, and a lot of the songs that I write. It's like we're not really, like we were saying before, we're not pigeonholed to any specific genre. We just all like so many different types of music that, like, the number one thing that we're all sort of always circulating around is that we're trying to create conscious music that people can listen to and take something from. And the idea is if you can create a positive experience with somebody, then they can take that positive experience and apply it to the rest of their life.
Right on. Music that is empowering and also, you know, giving people the ability to go take their life into their own hands and go do something with what they've gained from it.
Right. Absolutely. That's our goal.
Right on.
Try and shed a little light, you know.
Yeah. Also, I will say real quick, the other night at the album release party, people were going wild over that song.
It is one that seems to
Yeah.
be, capturing people in a little bit of
Yeah.
a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is really cool. That's what we want, we want people to absorb it.
Right on.
And they seem to like that one a lot, and I'm not sure, it's probably a mixture of the message and the lyrics and the,
And the music
progression of the
itself,
music.
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So I want to ask you a couple questions about your solo stuff. So the question I had was, when you're writing a song, how do you differentiate between, I want to bring this to the boys and see it developed in Merther, or like, this is my song, like this is the one I want to keep for myself, like how do you decide?
There's really not a pattern. The decision comes with the creation of the song. You know what I mean? And there's no real rhyme or reason on how I do that. It's just depending on my state of emotions and my if it's a very personal song, that I usually like to keep it to
Personal.
acoustic. And
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's also, there's no limit. If there's a song that I play acoustically predominantly on my own, and the other boys like it and they want to play it, then I'm always open to
Right
doing
on.
that with them. But I guess it all depends on how personal it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I do have a lot of like slower, kind of almost ballady songs
Yeah.
that I rarely break out anyway, but I certainly only do on my own without Merther. And it's not obviously I'm not anything against them, but it's just the energetic, the energy of the reason why I wrote whatever the song is, it all just sort of revolves around how personal it is to my own experience. Like that song Shackles.
Yeah.
That song, I wrote that song a long time ago,
it's
and
a
I've
great
never
song.
even really entertained the idea of doing it with Merther, because it's more of my song. It's more of a song that I really just want to put out.
It's a great song that brings me to tears, and I definitely hope it's on the solo album when it comes
100%.
out.
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely.
Awesome. So you were saying that you'd be down to play us a song here.
Awesome.
What are you thinking about playing us? And
Well, they'll
can you
be
tell us a little bit about it.
they will be on the acoustic album later on this year, and but they're also songs that I'm not opposed to learning with Merther, and you might hear us play it.
Yeah.
These songs. I'm gonna do a song that I wrote recently called "Keep It Alive," and I'll also do a song that I wrote a couple years ago called "Lovely Fingers." And I'm not sure which, if I should I just do them back to back, or should I
Sure.
do
We can
one
do-
and then we
we
can
can do
talk
it back
about
to
it,
back.
or
Yeah.
okay, cool,
Do a little clip so we can get you prepared. And
sure.
they don't want to see us.
Yep, this is your
They've
show.
already seen it. They've already seen it.
They want to see you guys.
Ah, we know that's what we get.
Yeah. But
Cool.
cool. So
Yeah,
he's gonna
man.
play us a couple songs, and
Boomer's probably gonna join
we
you.
might ask him another question or two afterwards, and
Mhm.
then
Yep.
probably take some shots.
Cool. So this song is called "Keep It Alive." It will be on my acoustic album, which I haven't come up with a name for yet, but hope you enjoy. As I sit down here in the nursing ward, fantasize about my organs, examining my bones, my soul and dead to my marrow. It's a leap of faith to think and say the words that float across your brain, but when courage comes, it doesn't stay. So you might as well wave as it floats away. When you pick up what I'm putting down, secret of the fire inside. You gotta keep it alive, keep it alive. There's no guarantee you won't drown when life's ever changing tide. feel scared. Solidarity repairs with love this broken state of affairs. And I'm so blissfully unaware. Let's look at the rules to cure. Legates make statements feel secure. And at this point I think I'm sure that it all seems so obscure. Pick up what I'm putting down. Secret of the fire inside. You gotta keep it alive, keep it alive. There's no guarantee you won't drown in life's ever-changing tide. Gotta keep your head above the water now. They're fighting to steal your mind. Wicked retinas shed their perish skin when faced upon your light. And the fire casted shadows dancing through your memories and dreams relieve you of your loneliness. You're not as lost as you seem. Can you pick up what I'm putting down? Secret of the fire inside. You gotta keep it alive, keep it alive. There's no guarantee you won't drown in life's ever-changing tide. I look at you and you look at me. Somehow it seems we're just one thing, staring at itself with glee, and so close to realizing everything is a reasoned rhyme. And I'm not planning your demise. Can't you see we're just a mind on a ride stretching through time? But can you pick up what I'm putting down? Secret of the fire inside. You gotta keep it alive, keep it alive. There's no guarantee you won't drown in life's ever-changing tide. You gotta keep it alive, keep it alive. There's no guarantee you won't drown in life's ever-changing tide.
All right.
He's,
Camera's rolling, Jimmy. All right, I can edit
Wait.
all this out. I can
Wait,
cut
first
this.
tell
all of
first,
it, even his answer.
First,
Obviously.
first tell Jimmy that I said hi.
Criner says hi.
Hi, is that the question?
Yeah,
No.
that's the question.
The question is,
See ya.
the question is, why weren't you at the after party?
Well, you see, the thing is that I'm getting older, and each day that goes by, I appreciate sleeping more, and me and the lady went to Taco Bell after the show. This is not a joke, this is what happened. We went and spent about $2,000 on burritos.
2,000.
All the money we made off the new Merther CD.
We spent all the
You guys made
money on
$2,000 off the
burritos,
new
and
Merther
I
CD?
laid in bed and fell asleep with wrappers all around us.
That's fair enough, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't at the after party. I had my own after party.
Well, I appreciate the honesty.
Your own in your bed Taco Bell after party.
That was the reward.
I appreciate the honesty. There's a reward for me.
How come you weren't at my after party?
Oh, is that the real question now?
Because
Why didn't we go snuggle with you and eat Taco Bell? I guess it's because we were over in Dedham drinking whiskey and fucking talking about shit that mattered.
and we were actually invited. You were invited. You were invited to our party. We weren't invited to yours. How are we going to show up if we're not cordially invited?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah. What's cordial about that?
Cosmically connected a little more than we are apparently. Okay, thanks for the question.
Yeah, no problem.
Can I turn the camera off now, Jimmy?
Yeah, no, you definitely put something about Taco Bell, though.
Oh no, it hurt everything. We had it right up to the camera. Definitely something about Taco Bell. And you can see in the camera that it says James Meringue on the...
What'd you say, Jimmy?
I said, sorry I didn't come to the after party. It's just like, the bad cards to me.
Well, we're all pissed at you, so see ya.
It's just me.
All right, well,
Love you, Jimmy.
ride in the passenger seat safe.
Yeah, I will. No, I'm driving.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll see you later, buddy.
Hey, peace, man. Love you.
Love you too, bud.